All right, everybody, what's going on? This is Scott Garber and Andrew Petcash from Profluence. We're going to be diving into what our monthly series now is going to be all around taking a deeper dive into emerging sports, understanding it through different contexts, both here domestically in the US and what's going on with a global perspective. As I mentioned, a little housekeeping, guys, if everyone can go on mute. If you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. And without further ado, we're going to dive into the fun, exciting, massive game of cricket that is making a splash here stateside. So, Eddie, my man, this has been your baby. So why don't you go ahead and kick us off with a brief introduction, and we'll move through the panel, and then we'll dive into it.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. Thanks, Andrew, for having me. Obviously, I wrote a piece a couple of weeks ago on cricket in the US, the challenges and the opportunities, and I've also written a couple of other pieces with Andrew on kind of cricket in India and being on a podcast with him. So, been working with Andrew for the best part of 12 months, and I'm a kind of Profluence advisor as well on some of the work that Andrew's fantastic work that Andrew's doing. That everyone obviously on the call is really excited for about the content and the information that he brings to the community. So, yeah, my background in cricket is I was at actually my first ever job was at ACT Cricket, so in Australia, doing kind of development work. But the big break was when I worked with the International Cricket Council in Dubai. So I was effectively working for the development department, of which is the associate and affiliate members. So there's kind of 10 full members, or 12 full members, I should say, now in cricket. And outside of that, all the other members are associate or affiliate members, one of which is the United States. I ran all the development events for the ICC, so all of the pathway events for the likes of Ireland, Afghanistan, USA, Samoa, all around the world, all their pathway events to help them qualify for the World Cups. Then I moved to the United States in 2015, based out of New York, worked on, actually ran as Director of Operations for the Cricket All-Stars, and any kind of cricket-related people on the call in the US might remember that. So Sachin Tendulkar versus Shane Warne in the baseball stadiums, Citi Field, Minute Maid Park, Dodger Stadium, incredible experience, averaged around 30,000 people at those games, just absolutely incredible stuff. Unfortunately, only went for 1 year. Also worked for the CPL, Caribbean Premier League, when they came to the USA for 2 years, operating with the CPL. And then also wrote and worked with the guys at American Cricket Enterprises, now Major League Cricket, on the strategy, which has been implemented, really, really well by the likes of Anand and Liam and others. And my hats off to those guys for what they've achieved so far. Moved back to Australia during COVID, for various reasons, and are now working on a whole bunch of things, including working with Kingsman Sports Groups, which is does a lot of work in kind of cricket on the grassroots level in the United States. I'm back in the US a couple of times a year, as well as a whole bunch of sports tech properties as well, some of which are cricket and some of which are not. So yeah, that's a quick on to me.
Love it. And then we're going to come down to you repping the unicorn shirt. If you want to go ahead and briefly introduce yourself, who you are, what you're doing, and why you're doing it, my friend. Oh,
yeah. Can you all hear me now?
Loud and clear.
Hey everyone, I'm Anand Rajaraman, and my background is I'm an entrepreneur, a Silicon Valley startup guy. Started a couple of companies, sold them, venture capital, invest in other people's companies now. A few years ago, a bunch of us got together and started a new project called Major League Cricket, MLC. The idea was to bring cricket to the US. And we figured, based on a variety of factors, that this was the right time to launch a cricket league in the US. And so we started working on the idea like 2018 or so. Then COVID happened, and then we finally launched we had the first season in 2023 last year, and we have 6 teams in the league today. So I'm a co-owner of the San Francisco Unicorns. The other teams in the league are the Seattle Orcas, the LA Knight Riders, the Texas Super Kings, the Washington Freedom, and MINY, so the New York team. So these are the 6 teams. Liam has been a player on the a star player on the San Francisco Unicorns for the inaugural season and again for the season that just concluded. So so we had a great season, made it to the finals and lost the finals. So there's always next year.
Always next year. No, appreciate the context there. And Liam, take us home from your international days to what you're doing now. Here in the States. Excited to hear your background.
Firstly, Anand, I apologize for not repping the Unicorns. That's on me. That's on me. So my story is I've been a professional cricketer for 21 years now. I'm still playing, which I can't believe I would say it. But 21 years playing cricket across the globe, played for England over 100 times, managed to playing 2 World Cup finals, won 1 and lost 1. So I know the highs and lows of cricket. Actually, in terms of being across in America, 18 years ago, I met a girl in London who was from Philadelphia. So that's kind of where the American story started. I've been back and forth to the United States for the last 18 years. For the first probably 15 years, I didn't realize there was any cricket here. It was obviously going on, but I had my blinkers on and I was just concentrating on England and all the international teams. But when I did come across here, I realized there's so much cricket on every corner. I mean, 10-mile radius to my house, there's games going every weekend. But the main reason come across here was I got asked to join Major League Cricket. Firstly, as a player to play for in the T20 competitions, representing the Unicorns. As Anand said, we got beat, but it was a very successful year this year. Alongside that is playing minor league cricket and help build that awareness, playing for the Philadelphians. And also part of my job would be to help local academies build and get interest and put some sort of strategy in terms of the coaching at these facilities. Alongside that, it's kind of a Swiss Army knife of roles being across here, involved in America. I'm sure Anand and Eddie can sort of get behind that. You've got more than one role here. But it's sort of everyone who came across here as a professional cricketer, they need kind of structure. They need to know where to train. So I've been trying to help them navigate the facilities where they can train and put some sort of coaching platform in place for them. It's a lot to learn here, a lot of exciting opportunities, a lot of work to be done. But I'm fortunate I get to be here and at the start, at ground zero. It is exciting. And as the USA went this year, they're very successful in the World Cups, with the Unicorns being successful in Major League. And then also with the Olympics on the horizon, it's exciting space to be involved in cricket in the United States.
Appreciate that, Liam. And it's all 3 of you very humble, Eddie, Anand, and also Liam. So we've had podcasts with multiple of them as well. So profluence.com/podcast if you want to listen to some of those. But I want to come to you, Eddie, for the first question on the US. What makes it appealing from a cricket lens? And then we'll start to dive more into Anand and how he looked at it from a financial perspective. And he has a lot of good background on the VC side. So we'll go more financial. Eddie, if you can go more high level macro environment.
Yeah, sure, of course. Yeah. And I suppose part of my piece I wrote for you, Andrew, was to highlight the opportunity, but also the challenges, right? And I just want to kind of preface this conversation a little bit from my perspective, is that I've been following cricket in the US for a long time, and it's got a real great groundswell at the moment. Again, Major League Cricket is doing some fantastic things from a global perspective, and my hat's off to those guys. The ICC brought the World Cup over. And there's just been a lot of great press around the World Cup, the MLC, but there are also a lot of kind of challenges that if they're not fixed and amended and resources and money is put into the right things, then it's going to continue to be this kind of niche sport in the US. And I don't think any of us on this call or the wider ecosystem want that. So I just want to preface that there's a lot of opportunity, but there's also, a lot of stuff that has to happen before we get too overexcited. And we've got a really good window of kind of 4 years to the LA 28 Olympics in order to facilitate that. But yeah, I mean, just some high level stuff. I mean, let's start with on-field performance, because that's, Team USA is always what everyone's always gets excited about. And the fact that the US made the Super 8s in the World Cup just last month and beat Pakistan is absolutely incredible. I never thought, when I saw the USA national team playing in Bologna in Italy when I first started in 2015. It was in World Cricket League 5, and they were getting beaten by teams like I think it was Jersey, which is a tiny little island just off the UK, and now they've beaten Pakistan in the Super 8s. I mean, that in the space of kind of 5, 6, 7 years, that's incredible stuff, right? I think just the numbers of cricket fans in the US, the US is a huge country with a huge amount of people, huge amount of sports fans. So I think I referenced in my article, there's about 3.5 million kind of cricket fans, genuine cricket fans. I've seen a lot of different data over the years, 3.5 up to 15, up to 20. I think if we focus in on that kind of 3.5, 1% of the population forecast to grow, 6 times over the next 2 or 3 years, and then you've kind of got a cricket fan base that rivals or is better than Australia or the UK, right? And then you layer in the fact that many of these cricket fans are going to be high household income people, some from the Asian subcontinent, primarily second, third generation. So put 2 and 2 together, you've got huge opportunity there. So they're the kind of great things that we can kind of really get excited around. Obviously, there are some challenges, but I might leave that to another conversation so I don't go on too much. But yeah, I think from a macro level, I think everyone's excited. I get inundated with requests, comments. How do I get involved? What's this cricket thing from just people interested, but also some really serious sports investors and some sports people in the United States. So yeah, it's real.
Appreciate that, Eddie, and we'll come back to the challenges here in a little bit. But Anand, coming to you from both a passion play to own a cricket team and what that means. Obviously, everyone for the most part wants to be a sports owner one day. I would say if you're involved in sports in some way. But how did you look at it from a financial perspective? How did you view it as the opportunity as well, knowing you come from that world and you probably looked at it from both lenses? It'd be good to get some deeper insights into that.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. So look, I think everything Eddie said about the size of the opportunity makes it's part of that equation, right? So when we started thinking about this around, I'd say 2018 or 2019, right? There were kind of 3 factors that sort of made it clear to us that now is the right moment to launch a cricket league in the US, right? So one is the first is a very fundamental one, that there was a new format of cricket, T20, that was getting popular in the world, right? So before that we had Test cricket, and then we had we shortened that and created one-day cricket. But even one-day cricket, which is a short form of the game, took like 7.5 hours to finish a game, right? And that's far too long. It was called the short format of the game, but it took a whole day, right? So clearly that was not the right format. So what really the most important key ingredient is that we had the right format in T20 that had taken off. So we thought, now we have a game that we can finish in about 3.5 hours that fits into a US sports kind of setting, right? Really well, an evening kind of game, right? So that's the first format, first thing. And the second is is that there's a critical mass of cricket-loving population in the US, which Eddie spoke about, right? There's the South Asian community, which is kind of the biggest component of it, but there's also enough people from other cricket-loving countries, Australia, New Zealand, England, and so on, right? So and by and large, these are people with fairly high disposable incomes and willing to spend money to enjoy themselves. And if you look at cricket games all over the world today, whether even if you look at the current World Cup that was held partly in the US and partly in the West Indies, if you go and look at see who was in the stadium in the West Indies watching those games, a large fraction of them were from the US, right? So any cricket game anywhere in the world, people from the US travel to go watch that game. So there's propensity to spend money to travel internationally, globally, to go watch cricket games in another part of the world, right? So we have that. And the third, I think, is a longer sort of secular trend, has been the growth of streaming, which means that you can consume more niche sports that, like an ESPN wouldn't necessarily carry, right? So all these things put together sort of convinced us that, now is kind of the right moment to launch cricket. Now, in terms of, in terms of streaming, the platform that carries cricket in the US, most of these cricket in the US is carried on a platform called Willow. Now, Willow TV, has some interesting statistics there. For example, the number of minutes of cricket streamed on Willow TV is, this is probably in the US is greater than the number of minutes of kind of Major League Soccer that are watched, for example, in the US. I mean, cricket's a longer game than soccer, so obviously it's an unfair comparison, but still, right? So it shows you that there's potential for just how engaged the audience is, that that they stream such a lot of cricket, right? So all these things put together were what convinced us that this is a reasonable thing to do. Now, that said, this was a decision made as much with the heart as with head, right? So Venki and I, we are two majority owners. We are cricket fans. We are passionate. We grew up in India being big fans of the game, and continue to be big fans, following it through Willow here in the US. And we want to, part of it is we think it's the right time to make cricket, to bring cricket to the US and try to grow it in the US and make it a US mainstream US sport. At the same time, it's sort of pretty clear to us that this is a long run play. It's not something where we get overnight success. This is not so look, the analogy I use is Silicon Valley startups. I've been in Silicon Valley for the last 30 years or so, right? And I mean, started a couple of companies, invested in many. So this the trajectory of Major League Cricket and the San Francisco Unicorns is very different from a Silicon Valley startup investment, where you invest and in a few years you sort of hope to make it big, right? So that's not the play here. It's a long run play. It's going to take a lot of investment over a long period of time to grow the sport. But I think that in the long run, success for us, for me, is measured not necessarily financially, although that would be nice, of course, but if we can make this cricket into a mainstream US sport that's sort of consumed by and then the US team into legitimate team that can contend in the World Cup and in the Olympics and so on, I think that's how I measure success.
Yeah, and I appreciate that answer. That was super insightful on a bunch of different fronts. Liam, I want to pop up to you from the athlete lens, having played in big major cricket events across the world. What has the experience been like in the US? Where do you see it going? What excites you about it? What's sort of been the feel of it for you coming and playing over here, and then comparing that to other places?
Yeah, definitely. The first year was very interesting because I came across from England, playing at Surrey County Cricket Club, the Oval, which is based in London, a beautiful stadium. That was my last game in the UK, I think. And the next game I played was Morrisville, which is North Carolina, which was a beautiful venue. I was playing minor league cricket for Philadelphia. That venue is beautiful. That could be put anywhere in New Zealand or Australia, and it fit in perfectly. The problem was the week after, I was playing in Queens, Jamaica, in a random facility with a pickup truck dropping the wicket down and the surface down. So it was definitely a change. And then it kind of showed me that there's not many places that have good facilities. So obviously that's a problem, but the passion and the talent is definitely here. The minor league teams are scattered. You've got 5 or 6 players who are good, and then you've got club guys who are coming in. Very, very good teams, but the facilities around that, so it's hard to keep your skill level up because of the facilities of being able to train on grass wickets and indoor facilities that allow full run-ups for a bowler. I'm not sure if you know that terminology, but obviously in baseball you can throw from a standing position. Cricket, kind of like a javelin throw, you need to run in and release it. But when you get to the Major League Cricket, that format and the amount of talent in that competition, it's as good as you get anywhere in the world. A lot of overseas players playing each team. You've got 6 internationals in each squad of the best in the world. So obviously they make up for most of that talent. But some of the youngsters that are coming through, we had a young kid from the Bay Area, Sanjay, who was unbelievable. So it's great to see the youngsters coming through performing against the best in the world. And even when you talk about the USA cricketers, as Eddie was saying, it's from where they come from to how they beat Pakistan in that World Cup game is amazing, because I know what the training facilities are like for these guys. The fact that they can come together and win a team in an international tournament and they're playing in indoor facilities that are not high standard is such a huge achievement. So in terms of being a cricketer, when you're in Major League Cricket, the standard's great. It feels like you're playing any in the world and you're playing against the best players. And hopefully that keeps growing. I think it will. Each franchise is obviously looking into researching to find their own stadium, get their own community behind them. And I think you'll see that over the next few years, because it's difficult for the Unicorns to have a following of thousands to come to Texas every game. So we know that when we have a facility in the Bay Area, we're going to pack out them crowds, because there's a huge culture around there who love cricket.
No,
So I have a question. I'm the novice here. Andrew, good to see you, man. So Jason Cole. So I'm a
Jason,
business manager.
Jason, real quick, we're gonna hold questions till the end if that's okay, if you don't mind.
Oh yeah, totally.
Awesome, buddy. Appreciate you.
No worries.
So real quick, just sort of, Liam, I wanted to piggyback where you were going. And one of the biggest gaps that we see right now here domestically is on the education side, whether that's from, the test to T20, understanding the terminology. And so as we have now a window of 4 years to, a stateside Olympics, I'm curious, like, what is the plan? Eddie, I'm going to come back up to you from the macro and we can sort of move in the same order. Is how do we start to educate and build new fandom around cricket, which will eventually trickle down into grassroots development, which I think is the underbelly of a lot of these organizations and leagues that are popping up. So Eddie, would love for you to shed some insight on that.
Me or Liam? I can do the macro.
We'll start with you up top, and then we'll sort of work through the room again. Yeah,
cool. Look, and it kind of goes back to the kind of challenges identified a little bit in the article and elsewhere. I mean, youth programs in the US are many, but they're very fragmented, very kind of it's kind of state by state, region by region. They're run by kind of different people with different priorities, with different understanding of how to facilitate education. Again, I'm not an expert in this space per se, and Liam does a bit of work in it, so I like his thoughts on that. But it's very kind of fragmented around that. So, and I know USA Cricket have done over the years have tried to do many programs. Like there was a rookie league that they're still trying to do about facilitating a countrywide kind of youth and development system and program to bring cricket into schools to just, basic education, right? What's the difference between a silly mid-off and a fine leg? How do you hit a ball straight instead of like baseball? Just really basic things, getting balls and bats in hands of kids so they can actually see that there's a different sport here and there's a potential pathway to a major league in the US and there's a potential pathway to representing the United States in the Olympics. I mean, that's a pretty easy thing to do, or to say, I should say, but to actually do and to implement from a nation as wide and diverse and large and all the rest of it as the US is certainly a challenge, and it hasn't been wrestled with yet. There's been success in pockets of the US, but from a holistic perspective, that should really be a focus over the next couple of years. Again, with that kind of LA Olympics, USA element, that's something to really kind of go after. So the time is now for that to happen. But yeah, we'd be keen to hear from Liam because he's kind of on the cutting edge of this from a micro perspective.
Take us to school.
Want me to go?
Yeah, please.
When I first started coming across here, as I said, a part of my role was to coach in local academies. So when I was in these academies, you have cricketers who were coaching, and they weren't really coaches. They were just cricketers hitting balls at kids who weren't really enjoying it. There was no strategy behind it. And I think that was a part of the MLC model originally, was to get people across, and then you would allocate cricketers to these centers across America, and they were doing the coaching. Not everyone is coaching, so what they were actually laying out there was not a proper coaching like guidance. There was no sort of strategy towards it. So for me, when I first came across, I'm like, I'm going to come across, play Major League Cricket. All my coaching is going to be with the best kids in the area, these 20-year-olds who are next on the ranking to play USA Cricket. And actually, I was working with 5-year-olds to 10-year-olds on my hands and knees throwing soft balls. And it was, I actually found I really enjoyed that. it was good to get away from high performance, and I really enjoyed that teaching side. But it was kind of frustrating because you had these coaches who were turning up late 20 times a year, but there was no one to replace the coach. There was no, you couldn't do nothing. There's no coaches, just a parent who's stepping in. So it kind of frustrated me. And about 8 months ago, I'm not trying to promote myself, but it was kind of a passion for me to trying to figure out how can we coach coaches. And that's what I've kind of done the last 8 months is come together with a guy from the UK, 2 guys from the UK who wrote the development platform courses in the UK. So we're going to try and roll that out over here. We're also going to put an educational pack together where we can go into schools and coach the teachers. So I just felt there was a huge gap where the coaches weren't coaches, and it was very frustrating. So I think that's what we need. We need to get these coaches out there and obviously coach the kids in the right way. So that's where I'm at right now. I've spoken to a lot of guys who've been involved with the USA in terms of what Eddie said, the rookie league and stuff, and that was ready to go. Then it just got halted and got stopped. The funding got stopped. So it was a frustrating that was very frustrating. But you've got all these guys, so you've got women and men who are so keen and to develop it, to get out there, to promote it, but it just got stopped. Hence why I'm trying to grab them all to work for me. So it's great for me. But that's an exciting part. I just think there's a gap here where we can do some proper coaching and get a proper structure in place.
No, appreciate that. And Anand, I'm going to bring it over to you. You know, with you being in the valley over there and sort of coming from this venture lane, I'm curious, you know, we're watching this integration of sports and technology, both from a training lens and from an in-game lens. I'm curious, what are you guys doing in Major League Cricket, you know, from a tech side to enhance the game, either from a media perspective, from a training perspective? How are you guys working those 2 angles together?
Look, from a media, so technology has been used in cricket actually for a reasonable amount of time for all kinds of umpiring decisions, right? So it's been nowadays it's like as is common in most other sports. I think cricket was one of the early adopters of technology for various umpiring decisions, and it's standard now in MLC as it is in the top sporting cricketing events in the world. So, and from a viewing standpoint, cricket's a kind of a technical game, and there's a lot of nuances. And one of the things that the league did this year with the commentary team on the broadcast was to try to explain the game as it progressed, and try to explain the game to not necessarily people who already know the game, right? But a new but to a new audience, and try to educate them about various aspects of the game. And this is sort of integrated into the telecast on Willow. If you look at the games this year, it was done that way, so which is very nice. And there's also sort of a bit of an attempt to Americanize, if you will, some of the terminology. For example, I mean, this is a very silliest example I can think of, but we in cricket we have sixes, and we have home runs in baseball, so the sixes in cricket are typically then in most broadcasts in the world the distances are measured in meters because that's what everybody else in the world uses. Whereas in the US we decided to do it in feet, right? So so I think so that's, I guess, the first step in terms of Americanizing the telecast. But I think that's going to be the first of many to come, I hope. But in terms of the unicorns itself, we sort of our technology people, and in particular the thing that we as a team have adopted is that we are sort of put data and AI at the center of everything that we do in terms of the team strategy and so on. So we use that this season in various aspects of our team, and so it's still early stages, but we can see some interesting ways of combining using data and AI to do interesting things in cricket.
And I want to follow up on that quick, and this is sort of open to Liam, Eddie, or Anand. What any like opportunities you see to build in the cricket space. I'm sure we have a handful of founders or people building in the cricket arena that you're like, hey, this is a good opportunity, whether from the IP side, whether from the tech side, whether from education, wherever it falls. I'd be curious, sitting on all the different really sides of the game, where are some areas you're like, hey, that something could work in this space?
Yeah, I mean, I might start quickly. I mean, that's kind of where I sit a little bit, right? With I work again a lot of kind of sports tech advisory work as well as a cricket side. And I think my point to any founders or interested people out there who want to build in cricket, particularly in the US, but also globally, is that the opportunity to be involved with cricket in the US, I think it's almost from the ground up right now. Again, Major League Cricket's been going for 2 years. USA Cricket has its governance challenges. There's youth cricket programs, and if there's anything that US does well, it is being the best at developing technologies and opportunities in sports and sports marketing. So I don't have a specific answer, but I would say kind of everything's out there and ready to go. You've got this kind of really core, really great product in Major League Cricket, and then all the ancillary opportunities outside of Major League Cricket, but also at USA Cricket at the kind of governance level are there for the taking. And I've been doing a fair bit of research and thought and work in, the analogies with soccer, for example, 20, 25 years ago, what has and hasn't worked well. And if you go through that last 20, 25 years about what they did, there's a lot of opportunities in cricket for developing, again, youth sports platforms, developing new ways of kind of visualizing the game, new ways of kind of, to Anand's point, kind of marketing the game to more of an American audience, content that is cricket specific to the American audience, but also the very well informed, more South Asian diaspora audience, and on and on it goes. So if there's anyone out there who's got a product that they think might be or ideas that they think they've got a good fit for cricket that's analogous to other sports they're working on, or just generally want to work in a sport that's on the rise up and coming in the US, then I'm always happy to have a conversation, and I've had quite a few on the back of the article as well.
Liam, Anand, if you guys have any further things, or are you looking at more team ownership? Are you looking at, I mean, in golf, there's like a million different leagues now, right? Like, can there be room for more leagues? Where are the heads at from that standpoint, even too?
No, I think the biggest need, it's all about new leagues. I think we have more than enough leagues right now. I think, and Major League is probably the. I mean, the interesting thing about cricket is that what, even though we call these leagues and seasons and so on, it's a more of a tournament style model, right? So we have a few major tournaments in the world. The biggest one is the Indian Premier League, the IPL, by far, right? So and that's just because of the population of India, right? So 1 billion people watching cricket, but I think the number 2 position is up for grabs. There's a very good chance that Major League Cricket could, in the long run, become the number 2, league in the world. And there's others in Australia, like the Big Bash League and the 100 and the Blast in the UK and so on. But I think Major League Cricket has a good chance of becoming the number 2 league in the world. And I think cricket's kind of evolving I think it's more like tennis, right? Because there are these 4 big Grand Slam events and so on. So I think there's going to be a few major tournaments like that, and like the IPL and Major League Cricket and maybe the BPL and maybe 100. I don't know. It's going to be like 4 of them, right? In the long run, 4 or 5 of them. So I don't think we need more leagues. So I think what's really interesting, what's the need? What I guess is the need is to spread the message about Major League Cricket and sort of build the audience. That's our biggest challenge. It's sort of getting the awareness out. One of the reasons why it's challenging is what Liam touched on as well a little bit, which is the lack of cricketing infrastructure in the US. In particular, the cricketing infrastructure that we need for Major League Cricket is stadiums. We don't have enough the stadiums across the US. So in fact, even though there are 6 teams, all the cricket this year and last year was played in 2 stadiums, one in Dallas and one in Morrisville, North Carolina. And Morrisville doesn't even have a major league team. So in fact, 5 of the teams didn't have a home stadium to play in. Only Dallas had a home stadium to play in, and everybody played in that stadium, right? So, and the reason, and the Dallas stadium is actually owned by the league as a whole, not by the Dallas team, right? So, the interesting, so each of the teams is trying to develop their own stadium, but that takes time. So the biggest challenge for us is how do we build a home audience and get them engaged with the sport while they don't have home games to go to, right? So that's kind of the biggest challenge for us as a league, right? And we need to solve that as our next big challenge.
And Anand, real quick, just this was a question from one of our attendees, but if you could shed a little insight into, what does it cost to start a new club? And, we've watched other emerging leagues leverage influential capital to bring visibility into it. Pickleball most recently pulled in a lot of star power into one of their leagues to go ahead and, really accelerate the growth. So if you can maybe paint a little picture as to like, what is the entry point into Major League Cricket, and are you looking to use any of those strategies to help bring visibility to the league?
Look, in terms of the entry point, I think it's the league has 6 teams, and it has plans to grow into 8 teams in 3 or 4 years, and then 10 teams 7 or 8 years from now, right? So that's kind of the growth trajectory of the league. I think the biggest expense is that of developing a home stadium, which is a big capital expense. There's also expenses, of course, related to running the league and then the players and paying the players and and all that. But I think we are in a reasonable situation where I think there's enough revenues coming in from the broadcast plus, and we have enough sponsorship interest that in the long run I can see being even break even operationally. We are not right now, but I can see us being break even in the long run. But the big challenge for us is how do we deal with the infrastructure cost, because that's like a big expense, right? And how do we model that? And that I think is going to be the biggest entry barrier for anybody who wants to come in and start a team or anything like that.
Super interesting. Now,
right.
really good insight there. And, we're getting some great questions that are rolling in here, Andrew. So are you good just to sort of move into questions or anything else on your?
No, I was going to go to Liam real quick before then we'll go to Jason for the first question, just because he had it a little bit earlier. But, Liam, what are you, from an athlete perspective, we're seeing a lot more into the ownership and investing. Are you looking to deploy capital back into the cricket space, or are you actually looking outside because you're doing too much as a player and you don't want to be, more closely affiliated with it? Or, how are you looking at the space from that side because of this athlete ownership model really taking most sports by storm right now?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, that's all you listen to on podcasts now. It's very fascinating from that space. Unfortunately, I'm not Kevin Durant, and I don't have a spare 35 million to invest into a company right now. But that's why, obviously, I'm doing this alongside helping the cricket education and the coaching is something I really invested in. Obviously, put money into something that I'm very passionate about. My aim is to be here and to help MLC grow in terms of working with the unicorns at the top level and high performance, but also down at the bottom. That's a massive passion for me, is to get it into schools, to put good structure into academies. So I kind of put all my efforts and some resources into that alongside playing.
Very cool. Very cool. And guys, just for the sake of time, I think we're just, everyone's done a great job just sort of dropping their questions in here. So, short of bringing you guys up, we're just going to sort of rip through these and get the panel's insight on them. So sort of, open this up round robin, but would love your guys, sort of thoughts. But I think this is a really interesting question that we can all, sort of, lean into. But can you share with the group how we might leverage the sport, diplomacy and corporate social responsibility to grow the sport while elevating its brand image in the United States? Eddie, I feel like this is right in your wheelhouse. Would love for you to take a stab at this one.
Yeah, for sure. No, great question and very, very relevant. I mean, India, as most people know, is massively on the rise from a macro trend level, population, GDP, all the rest of it. I think most countries in the world, and it's democratic, largely English speaking. So there's a real push, I think, globally to see India succeed. And I think you saw, for example, in political perspective, Donald Trump and Narendra Modi do something in India a couple of years ago. Same with Australia. The Prime Minister Anthony Albanese was at the cricket. So cricket and sport generally is a unifying force politically, right? So I'm seeing a lot of this. I've had a lot of conversations with consulates all across the US who see cricket as a binding force for primarily Commonwealth countries. And they are very keen to see cricket succeed at a kind of political and relationship and governance perspective on that side. So great question. I think the natural question then is, how does that happen? And then it just comes back to some of those challenges. Like you have to outline, USA Cricket has, governance challenges. You have to outline the infrastructure challenges that Anand and Liam have put together. You have to acknowledge that this is a whole of kind of cricket community opportunity to bring all these people together, and it has to be done with them. And if those people at consulates, political level or whatever can also, look to fund infrastructure or education programs or grassroots programs, that would be fantastic. So it's not just on the likes of Anand and others who are privately investing. I think that's where I'd love to see it going, some private public investments in cricket in the US.
Lee, I'm super curious to get your insight on this as well from a player's lens, especially coming off the Olympics. There's a lot of talk about this. Any insight from your side?
So I completely lost half of Eddie's. I think my signal faded off a little bit.
Yeah, we're just talking about sport diplomacy and how we can leverage the game. And I'm just curious to get sort of your insight from a player's lens versus sort of the coach or organizer lens now.
I'm not sure, to be honest. It's not my expertise on this side, mate. I think Anand's probably better off in terms of speaking about that. If he's got,
I think Eddie's answered it pretty well. I have very little to add, except that I think we've engaged with clearly in an effort to build stadiums, for example, we need the support of the local community and the local politicians, and we've been engaged with them. And they've been very, very supportive on that, in some of those efforts. At a global international level, yes, I think people, for example, people at the highest levels of administration in India and the US are aware of Major League Cricket. In fact, I think Prime Minister Narendra Modi in India is aware of Major League Cricket. I think he mentioned it in one of his remarks or questions or something of this nature. So, and he of course has an open invitation to come attend any of our games. So let's see whether he'll come. So.
Very cool. This is my own question, and then I'm going to go back to the group. But growing up here in America, there seems to be a lot of overlap between baseball and cricket. So is there any, from an infrastructure side of things, Eddie, I know you did some things at Citi Fields, but as you get down into like the grassroots level, are you able to utilize, municipal baseball fields in order to go ahead and start to bridge that gap while trying to, generate enough liquidity in the sport here to build the true infrastructure? Or is that just a silly American thing that I'm thinking?
Look, yeah, it's. I think if someone had the answer to that, then I think you'd be onto a billion-dollar idea. The size and scale of baseball in the US is unmatched. There are a lot of similarities there. I think there are some opportunities, but it's just like, what is it? The fields are kind of different and weird. The sport is a bit different and weird. You wear gloves where you don't, you hit balls differently. Like there's a lot of, I've seen a lot of crossovers. I think, Chris Gale was in, the Toronto Blue Jays Stadium promoting the World Cup, for example. Jeff McNeil of my New York Mets was in London recently and went to a cricket game and loved it. Right, so there's natural fit there, but what is it and how does it cross over? I don't think anyone's put that Rubik's Cube together yet.
Yeah, so I think you missed Liam throwing the first pitch of the Phillies game, but so that was part of the crossover as well. But I think the real challenge, and we've looked at, clearly we've looked at baseball stadiums, as a place to play cricket. I think they're okay for recreational cricket. I have played recreational cricket in baseball stadium, but they're not good enough for for a serious game, for an MLC game, because the shape of the stadium is different. Now, the one way that we've been able to use baseball stadium is there's a stadium in Dallas, for example, used to be a minor league baseball stadium, which the league was able to acquire and converted it into a cricket stadium. Now, I think it's as good a cricket stadium as any in the world at the moment. If you ask the players who play there, including Liam, it's a world-class stadium, but it required a full reconstruction and effort to convert the baseball stadium into a cricket stadium that it cost, tens of millions of dollars to do that, right? So you can't just play cricket. You can, if you can find a minor league baseball stadium, you can convert it into a cricket stadium, and that's cheaper than building it from scratch, but it still involves a renovation, a construction effort.
No, that makes total sense. Another question, what are the potential opportunities, especially at the entry level, to work at the MLC or in cricket in general here in the US? I know a lot of folks are looking to break into it. What does that team look like? And are there roles, from a professional lens to lean into that and participate? Open to any of you guys.
I can't speak from obviously MLC up top. I think that's in terms of Anand, he knows more about me in terms of that environment. In terms of starting cricket here, there's so many opportunities because everyone's trying to open cricket facilities and they need coaches. And that's what we have a lack of here. So in terms of people who are here, who love game, who love cricket and want to be involved from that level, I think there's so much opportunity. But in terms of the top end, I know MLC, a lot of staff go. So I'm not sure in terms of what's it like up top. The sport's growing, so I think Eddie's touched on this plenty of times. There's so much opportunity for people to get started in the sport here. What does that look like?
No, well said. I just wanted to go ahead and throw that out there, and then I think sort of winding down on the questions, and then we'll start to turn the corner and take this home. But Anand, I know you guys talked to a little bit about the technology that's being used in and around cricket. One of the members here or guests today, we just want to understand, like, from a training side. And so Liam, might come to you on this. But what kind of training aids are you guys using? Are you seeing new modalities on the market? Since there is a swing component to this, like golf or baseball, to really understand the mechanics of it. I'm curious how you guys are using that, in the training side.
Yeah, in terms of me, I'm fairly old school. I've played for a long time. At this point, in terms of cricket, for me as a bowler, all you need is to have the ability to be able to run and bowl in an indoor facility. A lot of the problems in America, even playing casual cricket, is you don't have the ability to run on a smooth surface. Playing on baseball fields, like you mentioned a little bit earlier, the grass is so long, and then townships don't allow you to cut the grass. So before even getting into the technology, we need to get that things right first. But in terms of some of the gadgets they're putting on, I think they take a lot from the baseball field in terms of they put a little chip onto the end of your cricket bat to see how quick your swing is. So I think that crossover will happen in cricket, and there's no reason why it wouldn't. As you said, there's so much data you can take from that to improve people. There's a lot of people traveling around the world who are using all the gadgets and gizmos to improve the bat swing. But it comes from baseball, which is pinching your guys' idea.
Sure. I heard
and
just a pretty cool tool.
Yeah, it is.
Just to jump in quick on that, so I see quite a few questions on the cricket tech side, and Anand has also touched upon this, but there actually are some really incredible companies in cricket doing some amazing stuff around wearables, data analytics, streaming services, AI tech, and things like that. I'd like to think I've got my finger on the pulse on that again, being a kind of sports tech guy as well. So if anyone on this would like to have a conversation about that ecosystem, or if they've got a product themselves that they'd like to put in front of me and for me to give some feedback or whatever, then more than happy to, because I think with the way that sports is going, and Andrew writes about this a lot, like use of data, use of hard technology, use of cloud technology, AI, whatever it is, that could be a secret way that we get into the psyche of more of the American sports public. So any of that stuff that's good, the better. So have at it.
No, appreciate that. And look, we want to be mindful of everyone's time as we're in multiple time zones. So we're going to sort of close this the way we opened it. Eddie, going to come back to you for a couple minutes. What's got you most excited in the cricket landscape? And we'll sort of start there.
Yeah, look, I think we haven't touched much upon global. It's been mainly US focused for a number of reasons, but I think globally, the interest and excitement around cricket when it relates to the United States as a market is real. I keep saying that between this 4 years of the World Cup and LA 28 is kind of a key marker, and MLC have timed it really well. They've got 2 years under their belt. They've done a great job in promoting it, get great players, as Liam said. So what does that actually translate to by the end of LA 28 is the opportunity that we have here. Governance challenges aside, with USA Cricket and various other things in the US, infrastructure is not going to be easy to do, and youth cricket are the three key elements that need to succeed. And all of those three are being taken care of. There's a new CEO that's coming to USA Cricket from USA Rugby, who's very highly rated. Infrastructure seems like they're making good progress on that on a number of fronts, and then youth cricket and the grassroots side with Liam and what others are trying to do. So I would say, definitely on a positive note, there are people around in global cricket and also within US cricket who really want this to succeed. It can be, to Anand's point, potentially the second biggest league or market in cricket, if done correctly, just with those numbers. And the right people, on this call, both talking and listening and out there, and people contacting me all the time about it. I think there's just a huge opportunity. So let's all try to bring this all together, whether it be Major League Cricket at the top end or all the grassroots stuff and everything else in between. It's like soccer of 25 years ago, and now we've got the Messi effect and everything else. So I think the opportunity is for everyone to try to make this to succeed, and I'm very confident it will be.
Man, that gets me fired up. All right, Anand, you got big shoes to fill. What's got you most excited looking forward in the cricket landscape?
Sure. So look, what got me really excited is the two tournaments that we've had, the two Major League Cricket tournaments we've had. I can see the first tournament we had, because 2023, we had some of the best players in the world come and play out here, which showed that the best in the world want to come and play in the US. It's not just we in the US who are excited about the prospect of the US. Everybody in the cricketing world wants the US to succeed and sees the US as the next big thing. And this year we had an even bigger number of the best players in the world come and play in the tournament. But even more than all the international stars who are coming, it's sort of It's very interesting, right? If Major League Soccer had their Messi moment a couple of years ago, a year ago, when Messi signed up for the Florida team. And the reason why they couldn't get Messi was because the Major League soccer season is so long that he couldn't play in Major League Soccer while at the same time playing in Europe. Now, cricket, we have a big advantage that our seasons are very, very short, which means that the best players in the world can truly play right from day one in Major League Cricket. We don't have to wait like Major League Soccer for 20 years for Messi to show up. We already have the Messi. We have Steve Smith, and we have Travis Head, and we have Liam Plunkett playing in Major League Cricket right from day one, right? So that makes a huge difference. But I'm also equally excited by the domestic talent pool that we're seeing emerging for cricket. For example, just on in the US team, we're all familiar with this bowler Nate Travalkar, who bowled so well against Pakistan for the US in the World Cup, and also bowled very well in Major League Cricket. In our own team, Unicorns, we have two young domestic players, Sanjay Krishnamurthy, who goes to college here at San Jose State, 20-year-old kid. Just showing that he belongs in Major League Cricket, and probably will playing for the USA team soon. And Hassan Khan, who won the domestic player of the tournament of the season, and really played incredibly well, right? So probably will be playing Big Bash or this year by all accounts. So it's sort of very interesting to see that the domestic talent in the US is sort of coming through, the young players, which is really what's going to build the sport in the long run.
Incredible. No, I really appreciate that. And Liam, take us home, my friend. What's got you most excited?
I mean, this year has been huge for cricket. The fact that I can jump on a train in an hour and 30 minutes. I was in New York and I got to watch a World Cup in an unbelievable stadium, watch India versus Pakistan. It's a good time when you've got drunk fans in the train station. You've made it as a cricket nation when that happens, But that was awesome. And then as a player, the fact that I can stand at the end of my run-up in a stadium in Texas for some of the best players in the world, I never ever dreamt that when I first came across here 18 years ago, to the fact that I'm now playing in a stadium, bowling out a guy who's going to hit me out the ground to some other field on the side of the park there. That's amazing for me to. And also what Anand was speaking about, the fact that we have people here who are training just in the small facilities, not very good facilities, but the fact they can go against the best in the world and get MVP of the tournament or get man of the match in that game showed you that there is something going right with the youth here and people coming through. Another thing that excites me, I get people approaching me from schools and teachers wanting to get cricket into the school, which is obviously amazing to hear. We get new kids signing up, especially after this World Cup and the Major League, new kids signing on at the academies weekly. So it's amazing. I know it's in a knock-on effect after the World Cup and stuff, but it's still amazing to see everyone's trying to get involved in cricket in this space. So it's that gets me fired up.
Really cool. Really cool. Well, guys, we so appreciate you, and it gets me fired up that we're having this conversation and we get 45 people to show up across multiple continents to come and start to talk about, where the sport is going and all the exciting momentum behind it. So, Andrew, any last minute thoughts before we peace out?
Yeah, no, it's super interesting. I appreciate Eddie, Liam, and Anand. Appreciate you coming on and everyone else. We'll send a follow-up email with the recording, a recap, and ways to get in touch with anyone as well. But excited about the cricket landscape, and I think the three gentlemen that came and spoke today are at the forefront of it. So don't want to take that for granted either. Which was awesome that we were able to get them on.
Awesome, guys. Like Andrew said, we'll follow up with everybody, and hope you have a great evening. And if you're in Australia, hope you have a great day. And until next time, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.